Before the wedding, Joanna spent a fortune to win Nestor's heart. She bought him a 100-acre rose garden, as if love could bloom endlessly in those fields. I turned my back on it all and threw away the so-called everlasting rose she had once given me. She took him far away to the northwest, where the snow fell endlessly. I still remember her voice, soft and dreamy. The sky is filled with frost, snow falling on our heads. Doesn't that mean we're growing old together? While she was painting a future in the snow, I was quietly packing my bags, heading back to my own home. I released myself from this cursed entanglement, canceled our wedding, and walked away. But later, she came running back, tears streaming, her voice breaking as she begged me to reconcile. She made a scene, clinging to me like a drowning woman. I didn't give in. I simply shook the wedding ring in my hand and said, "Sorry, I'm married now." Inside a restaurant, I sat in a booth with my brothers, sharing a meal. Laughter, chopsticks, clinking dishes. It was a simple moment. Then, behind us, new guests arrived, their voices rising in conversation. Something about the tone caught my ear. I set down my chopsticks. Those voices, they sounded familiar. And then, a name fell into the air like a blade. Joanna. "Oh, Lee," someone said. "Now that Joanna and Nestor had gotten back together, what about her wedding with Kevin next month?" Silence. Then Fatherly replied, his voice steady. "That kid Nestor has really made something of himself these past few years. He's worthy of our Joanna now. Compared to him, Kevin looks unimpressive. Joanna's heart is with Nestor anyway. The invitations were only just printed. They haven't been sent yet. There's still time." Motherly nodded quickly. "That's true. We should talk to Kevin. Ask him to step aside. Joanna won't have trouble finding a good husband. If not for back then, and after that, they kept going. They tore me apart piece by piece, praising Nestor, belittling me, comparing every detail, as if I were nothing beside him. Across the table, my brother Simon's face turned dark. He slammed his chopsticks down, his voice low with fury. "Kevin, what is this? I've never seen parents cover up for their cheating daughter, and then still try to push you out. And Nestor? Who the hell is he? Just some branch office project manager. And that makes him better than you?" I reached out, holding Simon down before he made a scene. Slowly, I stood up and turned to the table behind us. The moment Joanna's parents saw me, their faces drained of color. They froze, like thieves caught red-handed. Fatherly reacted first. He forced a smile, shuffling in his seat, patting the empty chair beside him. "Isn't this Kevin? You're here too. Come, have a drink with Uncle." I waved him off. My voice was calm, almost cold. "Better not, since we met here today. It saves me a trip to your house. You've never truly approved of me anyway. So let's end everything between Joanna and me." Their expressions shifted, uneasy. They glanced past me and realized I had been sitting just a table away all along. I had heard every single word. Motherly opened her mouth to say something, but Fatherly stopped her. His expression hardened. "Since you've heard it all, let's be frank. As her parents, we only want what's best for our daughter. In the future, when you have children of your own, you'll understand." I gave a bitter smile. Understand? I already understood. It wasn't about Joanna's happiness. It was about their jealousy, their pride. Back then, they pushed her into marrying early, not because of love, but because they couldn't stand watching others get ahead. I was just the most convenient option, nothing more. In college, Joanna had been with Nestor. They didn't approve, so they tore them apart. Now that Nestor had climbed a few steps higher, suddenly I wasn't good enough anymore. In the end, everything had gone the way they wanted. Joanna and I were never truly a match. Better to cut things off before the wound went deeper. And so, her parents quickly agreed. I didn't go drinking with Simon that night. He was in town for work, and I still had to be at the office in the morning. When I dropped him off at the hotel, he pulled me aside, his voice heavy with concern. "Kevin, before I came here, I was thinking how to bring this up, but now I've got nothing to hold back. These past years, for Joanna, you haven't even gone back home to Kyoto. You don't hang out with us brothers anymore. No gaming, no fishing, barely even talking. Just those holiday texts you send. That's fine. We grew up together. We'll always be brothers. But this time, I hope you really think it through. If you're ever feeling low, just call me. I'll drink with you. I sent him off with a smile. The truth was, I didn't need alcohol anymore. That phase had already burned itself out. What was left wasn't pain. It was exhaustion. It had always been me, stubbornly clinging to the idea of marrying Joanna. But reality had been clear all along. I couldn't stop her from walking toward Nestor. So why should I keep holding on? Letting them go was the only way to set myself free. Back home, I washed up and lay down in the guest room. It had become routine by now. Ever since Nestor joined the company, everything changed. He'd risen fast, 3 promotions in just 1 month, until he was suddenly Joanna's deputy. After that, she stopped sharing a bed with me. Her excuse was simple. The company is in a rising period. Everyone's watching me. I have to work harder. But her hard work wasn't for the company. It was for him. Our schedules drifted apart, until even though we lived together, we barely crossed paths. At work, no one knew the truth, that the vice president, Joanna, was living with me, just as no one knew that this so-called branch company didn't actually belong to her. It belonged to my family. And maybe that was the cruelest irony of all. Funny, isn't it? My family never liked Joanna, but they didn't try to tear us apart either. We had an unspoken deal. If Joanna and I could prove ourselves, if we could show results, then they would accept our marriage. But the past year was brutal. News from home was always the same. The branch wasn't forming. Expectations weren't met. And deep down, I knew what they were really saying. Joanna wasn't living up to their standards. I tried, though. God, I tried. I spent nights talking business strategies with her, pushing for growth, hunting for deals. Eventually, we landed a few. By all logic, I should have been promoted. But Joanna, she had her own reasoning. She said giving me the spot would crush the newcomer's hopes. So she handed the promotion that should have been mine, straight to Nestor. Overnight, he was a director. I was still just a manager. Looking back, I should have seen it for what it was. Love, or the lack of it, isn't something you need to dig for. It shows itself, clear as day. If I had truly mattered to her, she never would have let some guy who hadn't even been in the company a month leapfrog 3 levels above me. That night, the door to the guest room creaked open. A rush of cold air jolted me awake. The lights flicked on, sharp against my eyes. Joanna stood there, a box in her hands, urging me to open it. Inside was an Hermes billiard cue. Once, I would have been thrilled. Pool used to be my thing. But Joanna had told me it was a waste of time, so I'd given it up. Now she was handing me this cue, like some grand gesture. And maybe I would have fallen for it again, if I hadn't already seen Nestor flaunting his brand new Hermes bag online. The truth was simple. The bag was for him, and my cue stick was just the add-on purchase that came with it. I closed the box softly and whispered, "Thanks." Too calm, maybe? Her eyebrow arched, her voice edged with annoyance. "That's all you got to say?" I took a breath. It was time. "There's something I need to talk to you about." She cut me off instantly, rolling her eyes. "I don't want to argue." "I'm not here to argue." I told her. "I'm here to say we're breaking up." Her laugh was sharp, mocking. "So that's what this is. You're sulking because I was too busy on my trip to answer your calls? Please, Kevin, don't act like a child." Busy? That's what she called it? Too busy to answer me. Yet she had time to jet around with Nestor, post tourist check-ins. Shop for luxury goods? I didn't fight back. My voice stayed calm. I've thought it through. We're not right for each other. Let's not drag this any further. But she brushed it off like it meant nothing. First you want marriage, now you want a breakup. What is this, some college game of pretend? I don't want to hear it again, or I really won't marry you. With that, she slammed the door. The sound echoed long after she was gone. For years, marrying her was my obsession. But for her, marriage was just a chain she never wanted. She once told me she didn't even believe in it. Yet she always dangled the possibility. Like if I just worked harder, She'd change for me. But the truth? She never did. I never reached her heart. To Joanna, I was nothing more than a shield. And with Nestor, the man she once loved, back in her life, maybe it was time to stop standing in the way of what she really wanted. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen. For once, she was cooking. My eyes instinctively followed the breakfast she was making, but the way she rushed to pack it into a lunchbox told me everything. "This is for Nestor," she blurted, too quickly. "I lost a bet, so I have to cook for him. Don't overthink it." I didn't say a word, just opened the fridge, grabbed a yogurt, and twisted the cap. But before I could take a sip, she shoved a ruined sandwich in front of me. "Just yogurt won't fill you. Eat this," and wash the dishes after. Burnt eggs, charred bread. It was almost laughable. She had never once cooked for me in all our years together. I had always been the one in the kitchen. But for him, she was suddenly willing to roll up her sleeves. I left the sandwich untouched. I wasn't her garbage bin. She didn't notice, or maybe she didn't care. Lunchbox in hand, she was out the door before I even blinked. Leaning back against the fridge, I looked at the empty living room, the mess in the kitchen. Oddly enough, there was no pain anymore. Just silence. Just peace. Half an hour later, I walked into the office and headed straight to HR. I handed in my request for annual leave and marriage leave. They froze. "Marriage leave?" they repeated wide-eyed. As far as they knew, I was single. And now, all at once, I was asking for time off to get married. Luckily, it was the off-season, and this was my family's branch. I knew everyone well. The paperwork went through smoothly, approved without hesitation. And just like that, a new chapter was waiting for me. I had already secured the marriage certificate. All it took was sending it online. The paperwork would be handled without me ever stepping foot inside an office again. A strange relief washed over me as I left HR. But just then, a colleague pulled me into the break room. Puzzled, I stepped in. Someone handed me a coffee, steam curling from the lid, along with breakfast. "Manager Koo, here, an extra-large iced jasmine latte for you." I blinked at the cup in my hand, confused who had suddenly decided to treat the whole office. A co-worker leaned closer, grinning. "We're riding on Director Nestor's luck today." At that, my lips curved, not in bitterness, but in a faint, ironic smile. "Oh, and how's that?" They laughed. "This latte is part of a special collab with a game. If you want the whole merch set, you can't just buy a cup or two." President Lee went all out for Director Nestor. Ordered more than 100 at once. The extras got passed around to us. I sipped the jasmine latte slowly. The flavor was still the same, still one I liked. President Lee truly favored Nestor. That much was clear. Normally, I never joined in office gossip. I even discouraged my team from it. But today, words slipped from me. "I'm getting married soon." The room froze, then burst into excited gasps. Colleagues crowded me with congratulations, asking about wedding candies. I nodded, promising, once the certificate's in hand, I'll bring plenty back. And then clatter. Coffee spilled outside the doorway. Everyone turned. There stood Joanna Lee, her face carved in ice. "Kevin, my office." Now, the air in her office was suffocating. Her expression stormed with accusation. "What nonsense are you feeding our colleagues?" Her voice cut like glass. I drew a deep breath, forcing the ache in my chest down. I already explained things to President Lee last night, but my calm only seemed to fuel her fury. Her hand snatched a mouse from the desk and hurled it at me. I dodged, frowning. "You think just because your family knows about this wedding, just because they're pressuring you for children, you can act arrogantly?" I shook my head, helpless. "That's your family's problem, Joanna. My marriage is my private matter. It has nothing to do with you." For a heartbeat, shock flickered across her face. Then came the sneer. "Nothing to do with me? Fine. Don't regret those words." She grabbed her phone, dialed, and set it to speaker with a triumphant look, as if already savoring my downfall. "Hello, this is Tom, lobby manager of Starlight Hotel. What can I do for you, Miss Lee?" Her lips curved upward. "Cancel the wedding with Kevin. Notify everyone. She shot me a smug glance. Kevin, if you apologize now, I might still, but the man on the other end interrupted, confused. Miss Lee, that wedding was canceled long ago. By you and your parents. Didn't you know? The room fell silent. Joanna stiffened. Canceled? Are you sure? Yes. The system shows it was canceled 3 days ago. Mr. Koo and your parents confirmed it together. We even have the records to prove it. Her phone kept talking, but Joanna was no longer listening. She lifted her eyes, locking them onto me. You canceled the wedding with my parents? Behind my back? I met her gaze in silence. Her voice rose, breaking. Kevin Koo, you dared, teamed up with them? You'd better explain yourself. But I was done. I'd seen enough, heard enough. There was nothing left to explain. I turned and walked out, her voice chasing me down the corridor. Kevin, where are you going? Come back here. I didn't. Before she could follow, her phone rang again. This time, Nestor's custom ringtone. Joanna froze, then answered. Presently? This is Jordan, Director Nestor. He was just hit by a car outside the building. You need to come now. What? Hit by a car? She faltered, glancing once in the direction I had gone, hesitation flickering across her face, but only for a moment. Then she turned, rushing out of the office toward Nestor. By the end of the workday, neither of them had returned, and I went home, packed the suitcase I had prepared long ago, and left that apartment behind for good. I returned to my family home. My parents didn't ask much. They already knew. By the very next day, they had arranged a marriage alliance for me. Robin, my childhood friend. Unexpected, yet not really. Unexpected that she was still single. Not unexpected that my parents would choose her. For wealthy families, marriage wasn't about romance. It was about strategy. In truth, everything had been prepared long before, even down to the certificate itself. When the red booklet was placed into my hand, it felt surreal. Once, I had dreamed of holding one with Joanna, but now I finally understood marriage was never about her. A certificate is just paper. Joanna was never the right one, and still I was grateful. My parents hadn't thrown me to a stranger. They'd chosen Robin, someone who knew me, someone who had grown up by my side. We shared roots, memories, trust. In life and in business, we could stand together. For the first time in a long while, I felt something like peace. Robin and I had always gotten along easily. Being reunited with her, holding that marriage certificate in our hands, it felt strangely natural, like a circle quietly closing. My mother wasted no time. With a smile and a flimsy excuse of cultivating feelings, she kicked us both out of the house. For 3 days we lived side by side, not as childhood friends anymore, but as husband and wife. And in those 3 days, I thought a lot. In the end, one decision rose clear above the rest. I wanted to give Robin a grand wedding. Not for show, not for business, but because she was my wife, and she deserved it. When I shared this with my parents, I saw the relief in their eyes. For them, it wasn't just about the wedding. It was proof I had finally let go of the past and chosen a future. But of course, with 2 powerful families tied together, this wedding couldn't be a small family banquet. It would be a stage, carrying business weight as much as personal vows. After long talks, the decision was made. 3 months from now, the grand ceremony would take place. The soonest and best compromise. Time moved quickly. Between annual leave and marriage leave, 20 days slipped by. When I finally returned to the branch office, something felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. I opened the door at my office, only to freeze. Everything was gone. My desk, my things all replaced. And sitting proudly on the desk now was a framed photo, Joanna and Nestor, smiling side by side. A laugh slipped from me, sharp and bitter. Take a short leave, and suddenly I don't even have an office? No notice, no word, just erased. I pulled a colleague aside at the door. Zach, what's going on? He hesitated, eyes darting. Manager Koo. Oh, wait. Kevin, you really don't know? His voice dropped lower. You were fired. I stared. Fired? How come I don't know about it? Zach exchanged glances with a few others. Did you offend President Lee? She's the one who fired you. Your office was handed over to Director Nestor. I almost laughed. Gave my office to Nestor? That didn't even make sense. He was already above me. Joanna had carved him a special place at her side. And now even my space was his? As if on cue, Joanna and Nestor walked in. She passed right by me, ignoring me completely, until I spoke. President Lee, care to explain? I take marriage leave, come back, and my office is gone. Don't you owe me an answer? She stopped, glanced back, and said flatly, come to my office. Inside, she sank into her chair. Her face, even with makeup, couldn't hide the exhaustion. Against my own calm composure, she looked fragile, haggard, worn down. For the first time, I wondered if the new president my father had appointed, Amias, had been giving her trouble. Likely so. The plan had once been for Joanna and I to manage this branch together before moving to headquarters. But that dream was over. My father had sent Amias, his most trusted aide, to clean house. And me? My path was clear. Wrap up loose projects, then join the board at headquarters after my wedding. The thought flickered by as Joanna suddenly snapped, her eyes red with fury. Why did you block my calls? Do you know how hard I've tried to reach you? Her voice wasn't pleading. It was accusing, sharp enough to sting. I spread my hands, baffled. President Lee, we've already broken up. Keeping a former. Partner's number isn't exactly appropriate. Besides, I was on marriage leave. Did you expect me to work overtime during my own wedding days? Her anger only deepened. She stormed up to me, eyes burning. Annual leave? Marriage leave? Disappearing on purpose. Wasn't it all just to force me into marrying you? Fine, I'll agree. I shook my head slowly. I don't know what you mean. I submitted my marriage leave with a certificate. You should have seen it already. I got married. And for that, you fire me? Something in my words lit the fuse. She raised her hand, ready to slap me, but I caught her wrist midair. We had broken up. Why should I take that strike? I pushed her hand away, and she stumbled back, staring at me as if I committed some crime. You pushed me? No, just self-defense. You tried to slap me. Anyone would block it. Her laugh was cold, hollow. Kevin, don't you think you've gone too far? I already agreed to marry you. What more do you want? I met her glare steadily. President Lee, I'm married. When I applied for leave, I submitted the certificate. You think it was fake? Her face twisted in disbelief. You dare bring this up? Was it fun handing HR a forged certificate? I sighed, tired of the spiral. You're overthinking it. I'm already married. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the real certificate, and set it on her desk. I had even shown it to Robin's friends during our leave, posted photos, flaunted it proudly. I never thought it would serve as evidence in a showdown like this. Joanna's eyes locked on the red booklet in my hand, then slid to the wedding ring on my finger. For a moment, just a moment, her mask slipped, her expression faltered. Just for a moment, then hardened into something sharp, almost hostile. As if, Kevin, you really went all out with this little performance, didn't you? A fake certificate, even a ring. Watching her now, I felt no anger, only disgust. Memories came rushing back. The endless arguments, her constant doubt, the way I had once begged her believe in me until I looked pitiful. I wasn't that man anymore. So I turned away, walked out of the office without another word. But Joanna wasn't done. She chased after me, clutched my arm, trying to drag me back in to continue the fight. If we weren't in a public office, I would have shaken her off completely. And then, fate intervened. President Amias appeared, his brows drawn tight. What's going on here? His voice carried through the hall like a command. President Lee, why are you tugging at young Master Ku during work hours? The title stopped everything. Joanna froze. Her lips parted. What did you just call him? Amias ignored her, turning straight to me. He'd always been my father's trusted man, knew the ins and outs of this branch, and, most importantly, he knew me. Lee fired me out of nowhere. I told him smoothly, adjusting my sleeve. I was about to pack up and return to headquarters, but she wouldn't let me leave. Maybe you can ask her why. Amias's eyes flickered. He knew the weight of the projects I held, projects crucial for his own standing in the company. The fact that I'd been dismissed without his knowledge was no small matter. President Lee, he asked flatly, why did you fire young Master Ku? Joanna straightened, her tone biting. Kevin faked a marriage certificate just to trick HR into giving him leave. That's why. The office fell silent. Even Amia seemed stunned, as if she'd broken reality itself. Whispers rippled through the room. Fake? No way. Manager Ku already told us about his wedding. Didn't the client company even congratulate him? Yeah, they ordered his wedding candies. Huge order. Piece by piece, the truth unraveled in the murmurs. Joanna's face went pale, then red, then pale again. Amias pinched the bridge of his nose, then gave a short, incredulous laugh. His gaze flicked from her to me, like he was asking silently, "This is a woman you used to love?" "President Lee," he said firmly, "young Master Ku is indeed married. His wedding is in 3 months. Such matters don't spread instantly from headquarters to every branch. And when the time comes, every single employee of Huayao Group will receive the wedding candies." The message landed like thunder. The crowd finally understood I wasn't just another manager. I was someone far higher. My old team looked at me with shining eyes, pride replacing doubt. Only Joanna and Nestor were left standing in unease. Joanna's lips trembled. "Amias, is this really true?" "Of course," he snapped, irritated. "His wife is Miss Robin, the Jean family's eldest daughter. Do you think that could be faked? And you accusing him without even checking HR? That's incompetence." The tension snapped. Amias dismissed everyone back to work, already ordering logistics to clear and redecorate my old office. And just like that, the tide turned. Later that evening, as I stepped out of Amias's office, I found several of my old teammates waiting, grinning at me like schoolgirls with a secret. "Manager Ku," one of them teased, "your wife's here to pick you up." I followed their gaze, and there she was, Robin, my wife. She stood in the glow of daylight, Chanel dress draping elegantly over her frame, long hair falling freely against her shoulders. Her starry eyes caught mine, lips soft and naturally red, a faint smile tugging at her dimples. She was radiant, effortlessly so. I hurried over, took the matching Chanel bag from her hand, and laced my fingers with hers. "You came early," I murmured, almost embarrassed. I wasn't even off work yet. She leaned in, her voice lilting, playful. "I miss my husband, so I came to get him." Then, without hesitation, she tiptoed up and pressed a kiss to my cheek. Behind us, our colleagues burst into teasing laughter, scattering like guilty children caught watching a movie. But I hardly noticed, for in that moment, her hand in mine, her smile lighting the air, it felt like the world itself had shifted in my favor. One by one, my colleagues packed up their things, but not without tossing playful remarks over their shoulders. "Goodbye, sister-in-law." "Kevin, don't forget those wedding candies. I'm waiting." Time to scram. Kevin's wife is here. Even overtime feels sweeter now. Their laughter and teasing trailed down the hall as they hurried out, leaving the office quieter than it had been all day. In the sudden silence, I reached out, pinched Robin's cheek with a smile, and began guiding her toward my office. But before we could step inside, my eyes caught a shadow. Joanna. She stood at her door, face dark, Nestor lurking beside her. The 4 of us froze, an invisible storm swirling in the air. From Joanna, I felt the sharp sting of resentment, heavy and bitter. That, I understood. My marriage had become the perfect excuse for Amias to publicly scold her that very morning, humiliating her in front of the entire staff. But Nestor, his glare was strange. Shouldn't he be the victor now? With me married to Robin, wasn't Joanna free? Free for him? I pulled Robin closer, protectively wrapping her into my arms as I led her forward. But Joanna wasn't finished. She thrust out her arm, blocking our way. My expression hardened. Whatever stunt she was trying to pull, it was after hours. I had no patience. Manager coup, she said coldly. Bringing outsiders into the company. Isn't that inappropriate? The word outsider snapped something in me. President Lee, I shot back, voice sharp. Robin is my wife. She is not an outsider. That should have ended it. But something in my words ignited her like dry wood to flame. Joanna lunged, her voice cracking with rage. Why isn't she an outsider? She's a homewrecker, a mistress. She seduced my boyfriend. Get out. How dare you steal my man? Her hand clawed toward Robin's hair. Instinct took over. I caught Joanna's wrist and shoved her back, spinning instantly to check on Robin. Robin, did she touch you? Are you hurt? Robin shook her head, calm as ever. But Joanna, sitting on the floor now, stared up at me, horror flooding her face. Kevin, you pushed me. For this woman? Nestor rushed to her side, but Joanna slapped his hand away, barking at him to leave her be. Robin's eyes lingered on Joanna, curious, almost pitying. Then she clicked her tongue lightly and spoke, her voice carrying the kind of sincerity that cuts deeper than any blade. Miss Lee, back then Kevin ignored me because of you. For years I wondered why. Kevin and I grew up together. I've known him for 27 years. 7 years ago, what kind of sudden fate could outweigh the 20 we already shared? Her lips curved faintly, but there was no mockery in her tone, only truth. In the end, even fate couldn't win against childhood bonds. Just like in your heart, Kevin was never more important than your first love, Nestor. So, I should thank you both, because you gave Kevin back to me. Robin's voice softened, her eyes shimmering with pride. To me, Kevin is the best man in the world, second only to my parents. Her words landed like arrows. Joanna's face drained to color, fists clenching, chest rising and falling in wild, uneven breaths. I stepped forward, shielding Robin behind me. Oh, and presently, I added calmly, earlier you called Robin an outsider. That's wrong. My parents gifted her 10% of Huayao Group shares as a wedding present. Robin is not only my wife, she is a shareholder of the group. You've been reckless with your words lately. Even Amy has said it. You may need your professional ability reevaluated. The following days settled into calm for me. For Amias, though it was chaos, the kind he thrived on, a new leader always burns 3 fires, and he was blazing bright. Thanks to Joanna's blunders, he didn't even have to light the match. First, she fired me without cause. Then she humiliated herself by calling my wife a fraud. Each mistake was a gift Amias pocketed gladly. Before he arrived, he worried that because of my past with Joanna, I might protect her. But in the end, I hadn't lifted a finger. She was burning her own bridges, and the higher-ups noticed. Amias reported her reckless firing to headquarters, and dissatisfaction with Joanna spread like wildfire. It didn't matter that I was the employee she dismissed. What mattered was a precedent. Anyone could apply for leave properly, return, and still be cast aside without reason. Who could feel safe under a boss like that? Worse, her outburst in the office had revealed what no one knew, my past with her. Once whispers spread, her image crumbled. I used to ship President Lee and Director Nestor so hard. Turns out it was President Lee and Manager Koo first. So Nestor's a third wheel? Come on, he had to know. And her promotion, wasn't that probably thanks to Koo? She dumped him, the heir of the group, for Nestor? She must be blind. The gossip grew louder by the day. Respect turned to scorn. Then came the breaking point. Bang! A crash shook the walls of Joanna's office, followed by Nestor's furious voice. Joanna, what do you mean you're firing me? Inside, Joanna pressed her temples, exhausted. When she lifted her head, her eyes no longer softened at the sight of him. They were cold. After review by the company's executives, your work hasn't met expectations. Therefore, you're dismissed. HR should have explained this to you already. Coming to me won't change a thing. This was a decision of the higher-ups. The final blow had landed, not from me, but from her own hand. Nestor had been spoiled by Joanna's favoritism for too long, and he seemed to forget one crucial truth. Joanna was never the real power here. She was just a manager, a figurehead in a branch office. The moment headquarters made a decision, she had no choice but to carry it out. Opposing them meant being replaced in an instant. And now, even she could barely keep herself afloat. When she called security to escort Nestor out, he snapped. Humiliation burned through him, and he lashed out in front of everyone. "Joanna, what do you mean Kevin's already married? You broke up with him long ago, so why won't you give me a title? What am I to you? And now you want to fire me? Don't hide behind executive decisions. The truth is, you used me. You used me to fill the space. Kevin left, and now you're throwing me away to please Amyas, aren't you?" His voice cracked with rage, echoing through the office. "When you were cheating back then, did you think about today? You want Kevin back, but can't you see? He doesn't want you. He has a wife now. I'm the only one who stayed. The only one who loves you." The next moment, smack, 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 Joanna's hand met his face. 3 sharp slaps that silenced the room. Her eyes were ice, her voice flat, drained of all warmth. "From the very beginning, after that class reunion when you came looking for me, it wasn't love, Nestor. You wanted to use me to climb higher, and I used you to make Kevin jealous. Fair trade, wasn't it?" The words ripped through him. His expression collapsed, as if his soul had just been carved out. "Joanna, are you saying all of this was true?" She sneered, her tone laced with contempt. "Of course it was true. Why would I forgive you for abandoning me back then? For chasing some rich girl overseas while I was left behind? You whispered sweet lies, played your little games. Did you really think I would know? It was mutual use, Nestor. Nothing more. I wanted Kevin jealous. I wanted him coaxing me. That's all you ever were to me." His eyes turned red, his voice hoarse, each word broken. "Then what about me? What about this past year?" Joanna didn't even flinch. She rolled her eyes, dismissive. "Consider my revenge. But I overplayed it. Kevin won't marry me anymore. He married another woman. So now you're nothing." And right on cue, police officers stepped into the office. Their presence sent a ripple of shock through the air. They didn't hesitate. They walked straight toward Nestor. "What are you doing?" he shouted, panic taking over. "Joanna, what is this? First you fire me, now the police? What charges are you making up?" But Joanna's voice was hollow, her strength spent. "You know very well what you've done behind my back, Nestor. You've always been heartless." Then her eyes shifted toward me. Tears welled, her voice breaking as she handed over her resignation letter. "My resignation. I don't even know if it means anything anymore. I look pathetic, don't I, Kevin? Once this is all over, will you forgive me?" I didn't even glance at the letter before passing it to the officers. "Please take him away." Because this was business, and business and personal feelings could never mix. Nestor had abused his position, and Joanna was bound to be dragged into the fallout. All I needed to see was whether they'd devour each other in the end. And in the end, they did. 2 months blurred past, and my wedding day with Robin finally arrived. Just before the ceremony, my assistant brought me the news. It was official. Nestor had been caught embezzling, abusing his role. And because he was Joanna's man, she was implicated too. Facing trial, Nestor tried to save himself by shifting blame onto her. But this morning, Joanna made her choice. She drove her car straight into his. Neither survived. I didn't feel grief. I felt release. So I lifted my head high, stepped onto the wedding stage, and fixed my eyes on the doors waiting for my bride. Robin's father placed her hand into mine. We exchanged vows, slid rings onto each other's fingers. And in that moment, under the lights, I realized this was it. This was my life.